Raise your hands right now. Raise your hands in the air if you're a painter, if you're an artist of any kind. Raise your hands right now. Get them up in the air. Now, I've got a question for you. If I could make your painting, your really good painting, even better, would you be open to that? And if the answer is yes, then today is Feedback Friday. If the answer is no, then ignore that. We're going to take paintings from worst to first. They may not be bad, but what if we can make them better? So let's look at the paintings we're going to give feedback about today. These have been submitted from our audience. So we're just going to keep going through that, and you'll get a chance to see who did them. There's all kinds of paintings, all kinds of styles, all kinds of approaches. And the question is, can we make them better? And I see some things already that I'm seeing that maybe will help. And we're also going to be talking about the Zig Zag Composition today. So when you watch this, you're going to start seeing problems with your own paintings, and that's a beautiful thing, right? You want to be able to see what you can do to make your paintings better. So let's get this show started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
It is Feedback Friday, when we give feedback on paintings, and a critical part of learning to be an artist, no matter what stage you are as an artist, is to get feedback, right? Feedback is important because you can't see your own mistakes. And quite frankly, when people point them out, you're like, no, right? And I am anyway. And so what you want to do is watch other people's paintings being critiqued. You'll learn more from that than you will from your own painting being critiqued. But of course, your own painting being critiqued is a beautiful thing too. If you want to submit your paintings to us to be critiqued, just do that, right? Just send them to me, streamlinepublishing.com/feedback. All right. And that's where you can upload your paintings, and everything will be cool. And that will be a wonderful thing to do. So I'm the publisher of some art magazines, newsletters, a bunch of stuff like that. I paint. I've been doing this for a long time. Maybe I can give you a different perspective. And we really have no rules. Well, I have two rules, and they really relate to one rule. If you know me, you know my number one rule in life is no drama, right? Life's too short for drama. I don't want drama in my life. I want drama in my paintings, but not in my life. So my rule is about no drama. Be kind always, right? Be constructive. Don't tear people apart. That's drama. You don't want to destroy people. Everybody's at a different stage, and just because you may understand something they don't understand, don't belittle them for that. That would not be kind. All right. Now, I couldn't paint. I couldn't do a stick figure. I was horrible. And I convinced myself I didn't have what it takes. I quit multiple times when trying. Don't do that to yourself. You can do it. Anybody can learn to paint. You can succeed. You just need great teachers and great practice. And even on the bad days, it's going to be fun because you're still painting and drawing. And of course, nothing here is personal. So we're going to get right into it and jump into this. Are you ready? Okay, let's bring up the first painting we're going to critique here. Okay, this painting is let's call it a gazebo. It's from Rose Cooper. And Rose Cooper, let's see here what we've got. Rose, what I like to do here, if you're new here, you guys will understand that I kind of do the same thing every time, because that's just, the rules that I use work for me. The first thing I always do is I ask myself, well, you can do it in any order. We want to ask ourselves about composition. We also want to ask ourselves about values meaning dark to light. And where do we want the eye to go? Where does the eye go? All right. Now ask yourself this. In this painting, it's pretty easy to understand the composition and where the eye goes, because there's one primary subject matter, and that's the gazebo. So you're not going to miss the gazebo. You're not going to have anything fighting you in the gazebo. But let's first start out with our tic-tac-toe board. Now I divide the painting into roughly equal thirds. One of my listeners the other day said, why don't I provide a grid to everybody so you can do it yourself? I would be ripping you off, quite frankly. You can just do this with yourself. You don't need me to sell you something. I'd be happy to sell you something, but I don't want to sell you something that's of no value. So here's the deal. This is a tic-tac-toe grid. What are you seeing? This building is going right along the tic-tac-toe grid. That's really excellent placement. And really, if you were going to pick a focal point of this building, you probably would pick this spot. Now, the reality is the focal point is this, and that really works really nicely. That's actually kind of a nice diamond shape. And so that works really good. So we have won the focal point battle. Now, what I oftentimes do also is I draw my line dead center down the middle, and I see, are we putting anything on the horizon line? Are we putting anything dead center? And by the way, you can do that. The rules are meant to be broken, but this is an example of where you didn't have a problem there. Now, what I'm looking at is I'm going to ask myself these questions. Where is the darkest dark in this painting? Can you see it? The one way to do that is to squint down, squint your eyes and kind of get things fuzzy. And the darkest dark in the painting is right here. And where is the lightest light in the painting? That's a little harder to tell. And the lightest light in the painting is maybe here, maybe here, maybe here, and these are pretty light in here. Okay, so what we want to do when we're thinking about trying to draw attention to a composition, what we want to do is place our darkest dark where we want the eye to go. And the artist, in this case, Rose Cooper in Colorado Springs, has done that. So what we have here is we have a good dark in here. She's placed a nice dark around this pole. I would take your dark and just kind of create a little bit of an outline and just kind of make this and look for ways to make this kind of feel right. You know, it's not, you don't want it to look like an outline, but the idea is you're just trying to make it really stand out. Just see, now I'm not suggesting you do all this, but what I want to show here is look how much this stands out if you just get some darks behind it, right? And darks against lights create contrast, and that's really what you want to do, is you want to create contrast. So what happens here in this particular case is you have a lot of light drawing the eye. You have light back here, you have light here, you have light here, you have light here, you have light here, Rose. And so a lot of that is drawing the eye. When we go to the color version, we're going to see that it's drawing the eye in a different way. Let's just do that right now. This is really a lovely painting, by the way. I would, if I were doing this painting, I would probably make this building a little bit smaller, just a little bit, just because it kind of feels claustrophobic to me. It feels like I need a little bit more room. So maybe what I would do is I would go in here and maybe make this painting just a, you know, make this thing just a little bit smaller. And then I would create a lead in of some sort, even if that's not what you see there. Just try to kind of bring me in, and that will help. The other thing I always look for is where are the verticals, the horizontals, and the angles. So a really good painting, oftentimes, not always, there's no rules for always ever, but you want to have a good angle. Now, this is not exactly what I would consider an angle. That would be an angle, but that serves the purpose of an angle. So you got a strong angle here, strong angle here. Where's your strongest horizontal? You got a strong horizontal here. You've got a stronger horizontal here, and then you have a horizontal back here. And so what you want to do is have what you would call a dominant horizontal. So in other words, one of them is bigger than the others, right? If they're all equal size, then it's not going to work. So something's dominant. In this case, this is your dominant horizontal. This is a little smaller. This is a little smaller. This is a little smaller here. And so and this is smaller here. So this is called echoing. And I get this from Don Varga, who's a great composition teacher. And so, and I didn't know any of this a year ago. This is pretty good stuff. So the other thing you want to have is, so you want to have strong horizontal, you want to have a strong vertical. Well, this kind of is your strong vertical, even though it's not all the way through there. You've got verticals in here. These are a little bit the same size as this one. So I might look for a way to make that one a little taller or these a little bit shorter, just so that you have strong vertical. Now you also have a strong vertical and a tree over here, which is okay. Now the other thing is, okay, so we have an angle, we have a horizontal, we have a vertical, and then you want to look for a way you could create an arch. And an arch is a way to kind of loop the people back. And so loop the eye back. So you kind of have an arch going on here, or you could kind of design it so there's an arch going on here, and you want to basically kind of recycle people back into the painting. That's kind of the way I believe it. I would look at this painting and I say, okay, what's drawing the eye? What's distracting? Let's take this just a little further. I'm going to just take these darks and I'm going to just create a little bit sense more dark in and around this building, just a little bit more like we did before. And I'm going to kind of get rid of those darks back there, or those bright colors back in there, because they're drawing the eye. The other thing I'm going to do is this bright color here is drawing the eye away from the focal point, and we don't want that. So we'll take this here and we'll move that tree into here. And so we've got a nice bright tree. Maybe that color needs to be a little brighter, but we've got a nice bright tree kind of right here by that. And then when we mute this one back, it's drawing all the attention over by where you're at. So, you know, you get this stuff all muted back, and then you've got a nice light, bright tree. We could put something really bright right in here. And so it's kind of, it's focusing you on the focal point area. Other than that, I think, overall it's pretty strong. I would say, Rose, that your shadow colors are a little bit off, right? So you've got, for instance, white in shadow is really kind of a blue, and you've got a lot of white in here, and it doesn't read like it's in shadow here. So this is a really great example of where you can show variations, because this is like a plane, right? So this is a little bit lighter, and then this one here is really bright, and I always put a tiny bit of yellow in my lights. Excuse me, that didn't do it. Tiny little bit of yellow in my lights, just because it'll make it stronger. So if you get the equivalent of that color in a green, let's say there, then that would be brighter in here and brighter in here. And so would this dark, it would actually be probably like a yellow ochre kind of a color. Let's try it here. No, that's not it. We want that to be in the sense of it's in light. So when you do that, now that feels like that's in light. So then what you do is you pump up your light, over here. Need to pump it up a little bit more. Pump it up on this a little bit more. And then you bring everything else into a shadow a little bit more, kind of like you've done here. And it's just the shadow is going to end up being a little darker. That's going to create the sense of form. I also think you have this big light up here, and what I would probably do with this is to look for a way to get some shadow in this grass. You want to have kind of a greenish, bluish kind of a shadow in here, and get some shadow around this thing. And maybe you can make up shadows. You've got this line that's leading me out. I would take that out completely. Maybe make that line, figure out how to go in there. But the idea is you don't want that big bright spot everywhere. You want the bright spot to kind of be right around where they're entering this viewing point. So that's what I'm doing. I think your mountains in the background look great. Everything else is really good. That would just strengthen this. Okay, let's go to the next one. What do we have next? Okay, we have a watercolor, and this watercolor is by Francine Tremblay in Quebec, Canada. Beautiful. All right, Francine. I am not a pro watercolorist. I'm a mid-level watercolorist at best, but I think you've done a beautiful job on this. I like how you have this sense of disappearing, using the water and disappearing into the distance. I think that's really nice. Let's look at this compositionally. First place we're going to go is we're going to go dead center, and dead center. And so what we have is we have our big white spot is dead center. Now, maybe it's a little over to the left, I'm not sure, but so it actually works, right? You've got things that are converging down to here. This is not, this is kind of converging into here. This is converging into here. Looks like your perspective might be off just a little bit because those would not overlap like that, but that's not a big deal right now. What I would do is ask yourself, okay, let's compositionally, where do you want the eye to go? So we do our tic-tac-toe board. Again, you don't always have to do this. And you want to basically have one of your primary composition things right here or right here or right here or right here, but not in all four places. And where are you drawing the eye? Well, I think the eye is being drawn right here if this is the cars. But what's happening is you got figure here, you got figure here, you got figure here, and it's all confusing the eye just a little bit. So what if you were to move, let's see, let's get that grid back in here. What if you were to move that car to here, keep these people here, and move this figure here? And I would take that figure out completely. And what that does is it just gets all of the action right there in that spot. And then you take this arch, move that arch there, got a nice dark arch, a dark figure, and that would just change the painting considerably. Now we're going to look at this in the color version, which interestingly enough, the color version is very almost monochrome. Now, the only difference in this particular case is I can see a little bit more detail back there, which is good. I think that the yellow in the light is really distracting me. And it's lovely. I like the way it's radiating, and I think that's nice. I like the yellow in the sky. But we've got to ask ourselves again, where do we want the eye to go? So if we had, let's take some of this yellow in here. Let's take some of this yellow in here and get this a little bit stronger right in here. And I don't know how to clone that car, so I'm just going to draw the car in real quickly. We'll draw the car in right here. Right? There's the car right there. Now we're going to take it out. Take it out. Now I know it's driving, but you know you can change anything you want to change. You're the artist, and so you can create a shadow for that car in here. Now we're going to move that arch. We're going to move that arch right into here. Going to get a good dark arch here, and then we're going to move that figure into here. Now what I would do is I wouldn't put that light there. I would put that light right there in your focal point. So your focal point is right in here. So that's where we're going to put that bright light right in here. You know, do something that's going to really stand out. Right, keep all your focal interest in there. And I would, you know, if you can pump up your lights right in this area, that would really be great. But I think it's really lovely. Congratulations, Francine. Okay, what do we have next? We have a pair. I could make a joke, but I won't. Denise Grilliot. Boy, I'm having trouble. McDonough, Georgia. All right, Denise. You know, when you're doing a still like life like this, composition is pretty hard. And so, you know, you're going dead center. That's okay. In this particular case, you could potentially ask yourself, if you did the grid, would it be better to offset this a little bit? And it might be a little bit better. I tend to not want things that are completely centered. So that's a preference thing. So maybe what we would do is we just move this pair over just a little bit and have it be here. And then, you know, you got a nice long shadow here. that creates, you could do it one of two ways. You could move it there, or you could move it to the other side and have more white space, more light over here. So that's one thing you could do. I think overall, your values look pretty good. You know, you got a good strong dark in here. What you want to do is study how light hits a ball. Let's see if I can find that for you. If you study this, So look at what happens here. You have the shadow in here, and you have reflected light from the ball in here, or maybe it's reflected light from elsewhere. You have this this shadow in here, right? And this shadow is essentially a reflection, and that creates that sense of depth in that ball. So what's happening here is you have light, little darker, little darker, little darker, and you've done that. But what you've missed is that shadow in there. And also, maybe some definition on your shadow to give it a little bit more sense. So let's go back to our pair here. We'll go to the color version now. So lovely colors, really beautiful and brilliant. So if we had this light coming back in here, and you've got a little bit of it, let's just enhance that just a little tiny bit. Let's just put a little bit of this light in here, reflecting in here. Now let's take our shadow color, and maybe instead of making that black or dark behind there, maybe we're going to keep this light. So what's happening is I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but this light and dark, this is light, this is dark, and it's right down the middle of the pair, which probably unlikely to happen in real life. So maybe what we've got is we've got a little reflected light in here, and then maybe we take some of this light and we just leave it in here and make this whole thing light. I'm not saying you have to do that. I like the colors that you have in there, but or you could put those colors in the wall all the way along, Denise. And then what you've got is, you've got your shadow, and it just will read a little bit more like a sitting pair. And I think if you look at something like that could change just how you do it. In terms of everything else, I think it's probably pretty well executed. I think you've done a nice job on it. And just practice these shadows or these reflected lights in there. And then remember, in this particular case, it's two balls, right? So you've got kind of this thing going on, which is nice, and really a little bit right here. And so that's a tough subject to do. That's why so many painters do pairs. Anyway, good job on that. I'm not sure I can help you anymore. That's about all I got on that. What do we have next? Okay, we have a painting of Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is from Ronna in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Ronna, what I can't really tell here from the black and white, now I have seen the color version, so I'm making this up as we go. But what I'm feeling here is that the texture may be fighting you, the texture of the canvas. This looks like it's pastel, and it looks like pastel on canvas, which is an interesting thing to do. And if you're looking for texture, then that's the right look. Let's just forget about that for right now, and let's see if we can do this. I like the look of this. As a matter of fact, whenever I see a painting that says, I want to be there, that's a successful painting. So we're going to go, first off, we're going to try our traditional down the middle, and we're not fighting anything here. We're not fighting anything here, and that's a good thing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go across here and across here. We have here and we have here, and you've really got the focal point right in here, and that's really nice. And you've got your horizon line right in here. That's really nice. You're paying attention. You've done a beautiful job on the lead in, and the lead in is basically taking me to your focal point, and you've actually got two lead ins, which is really interesting. And so I like it. I think overall it's good. What I can't tell is what is this? I can't tell that in the black and white version. And I also would say that you've got darker darks here than you have here. So if you want this fence to read like it is going in the distance, then I would get these up here a little bit darker, right? And maybe get a good dark shadow or something in here. So you establish that so that, and then it gets lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter as it goes on. Those are not lighter. And that will help create that sense of distance. Also, these darks back here and back here are a little too dark for back there. I think you want the darker darks to be forward. And so those are fighting you just a little bit. Now we're going to go to the color version of this so we can see what that object is in the distance. And okay, here's the color version. Again, the texture thing, that's a preference thing. It doesn't bother me one way or the other, but I would definitely continue down this path of get this a little darker in here, and maybe even a little darker here. And then I would take these and maybe make them a little less dark. And then these ones down here, just a little less dark, and it'll help them recede. These blues in here are lovely, the shadows. I like them a lot. That says to me, this is where the sun is coming from, right? And that's nice. And your tree shapes here with the light on the tree shapes, they tell me where the sun is coming from. Now, what I'm seeing here is this down here is confusing me a little bit. This is a tree right here. Let me get my red back so that we can see my thing. So this is a tree right here. So all that time and energy there is leading me to that one tree, but that tree isn't necessarily standing out. And the other thing I'm wondering is, why do we have a red shadow here? And that's curious for me. And it's a preference thing. You're an artist, you can do whatever you want to do. But I would ask myself, how can I enhance this? So if I'm going to lead somebody there, I'd like to lead them to something that's going to really draw my attention. Now you put a nice bright in here, and that's good. So you've got your bright in here. I would continue your bright. I wouldn't put it too far anywhere else. And then look for a way, if the tree is your thing, look for a way to make this tree stand out. And this tree, your trees are like gumballs, right? This tree's a gumball, this tree's a gumball, and this tree's a gumball, and so is this one. They're all the same. So what you want to do is you want to make things varied in shape, vary in a lot of things. Even if you see gumballs, change them up so that everything looks a little bit different. Now, the question for me is why that one tree is so important to you. And the answer is, I don't know. But if you're going to do it, then figure out a way to make it stand out, make it a little bit different. Or what I do all the time is I just make stuff up. I know I shouldn't, but like I might say, okay, well, I'm going to put your red down there stimulated this thought. I'm like, okay, I love red barns. So I'm going to put a little red barn in here, and I'm going to put a brightly colored roof on it. That's not a brightly colored roof. I'm going to put a bright roof on it. And now all of a sudden I've got a reason to have a focal point going there. And so that's something you can do. And you can even pump that up a little bit more if you wanted to, just a touch more red or something. And then, maybe even a little bit of light on the roof so that you're really drawing the eye there. And then what I would do is I would take this road here, and it's taking me off the edge of the painting. And so I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to just take these leaves, these branches, whatever they are. I'm going to leave a little bit that road there, not at the end. I want that to kind of block that off there. And the other thing is, this is kind of taking me off too, but it's not as concerning to me. But you could put a block there too, and you could put a tree or a bench or a bush or something right in here, and then also get some shadows in here, and maybe get some shadows that are kind of coming across the road, and just kind of make it there. Quite frankly, this painting doesn't need this road at all. If you took that road out, it would be probably a little stronger painting, because you've got a nice lead in, and then just keep sure that that the lead in is continuing to happen. All right, as far as the clouds in the background, I'm not worried about that too much, but I would try, your cloud is pointing me, because it's got a shape on it, it's pointing me to the mountain. What you might want to do is move that cloud so it points me to the focal point. Just a guess. Okay, so we're going to talk about a couple of things first, and then we're going to come back and finish up the rest. What do we have? We've got a free gift for you guys. And we want to give you that free gift today. It's 97 incredible art secrets from the world's leading masters. And you can have it as your gift from us for free. It's a free video, and you can stream it instantly when you get done watching this program if you wish, or you can get the DVD for free, but you got to pay for the shipping if you get the DVD for free. Okay. Also, we would love for you to subscribe to this program. We're here every weekday, have been since COVID. We've done hundreds, thousands of shows, and we've taught over 22 million people to paint. And we would love it if you subscribe and give me a follow. My name is Eric Rhoads. And let's go have some fun. You ready to have some fun? Okay. I love to do things for you guys. I love to come up with things that are fun to do. I'm big into plein air painting, outdoor painting. And so I'm taking a group of people to go painting in China. And so this is an incredible trip. And it's incredible because I took almost the whole very trip myself last July. And July was too hot. I don't want to go in July. I want to go in the fall. And everybody said fall is when, the air is the best, the color is the best. And I guess the fall color in China is incredible. So we're going to go in November. And so we're going to be painting for 10 days in China. We're going to a lot of incredible places. We're going to this place, Guilin. We're also going to be painting around Beijing. You have to go to Beijing, right? You got to see all the things like the Great Wall, the Forbidden Temple, all of that stuff. We're going mostly to small villages and temples and monasteries and things that are very colorful and paintable. You're going to have the time of your life. I did. I had always heard all this stuff about China that the news kind of scared me. And I decided, well, I'm going to just go anyway and see what happens. And I had a great time. It was safe. It was clean. The food was great. It was a wonderful experience. And I have friends in China that I made there that I spent 4 weeks with. And so I know them very well. And they're going to be leading our group. And this is a rare chance. I'm not going to take a group to China again. You want to go. And you can be home in time for Thanksgiving, even if you do the optional post-trip to go see the Terracotta Warriors. You'll still be home. You'll be home the day before, because the day you leave is the day you get there. And so you'll still be home the day before Thanksgiving. Of course, if you don't do the optional extension, you can get home way before Thanksgiving. Anyway, go to pleinairtrip.com/China. I should also mention that before that trip, we're taking a group of people to Japan. It's not a painting trip, but it's a fine art connoisseur behind the scenes art trip. And that is starting October 22nd. And we're going to go see our painting trips and our collector trips are legendary. We have a lot of painters who go on both. And just go to finearttrip.com/Japan. All right, now we're going to get back to critiquing here. So what do we have next? We have another road painting. And this painting here in the black and white version is, okay. So this is, I can't read the name. Let's see if I can bump it up. Laura in Hilliard, Ohio. All right. I don't know where Hilliard is, but looks like a pretty place. Maybe this is Hilliard, Ohio. Okay. So what do we do here? First off, I see a couple of things right away. I like the approach here. I like the look, and I'm trying to figure out what the focal point is. So let's ask ourselves first off, do we have any problems? No horizon here, nothing dead center. We can check that box. We're good. Now we're going to take our grid and we're going to say, okay, where's the focal point supposed to be? Well, it probably would be here, and your focal point is probably here. So you're pretty close. I would just kind of move this over into here, and we'd look at that. Now, the other thing we were going to look at is, first off, you've got a really nice job in terms of recession here, right? This artist, Laura, has really strong darks in the front, and she gets them a little less dark and a lot less dark, and she's done a really great job creating what they call atmospheric perspective, all right? And so that's a really, really good job here. And so there's a couple of things that I'm noticing that probably would help this painting. First off, moving the focal point a little bit, but the road is very sharp right here, very sharp edges, and even sharp edges through here. And I think that even though roads do have sharp edges, I would soften these edges a little bit. I also am asking myself, what is this serving? You know, it's got like 2 stripes here. Is that serving anything? You've got a corner here. Let's deconstruct this a little bit in the color version. All right, now we can see it a little bit. Again, beautiful job. One thing I want to point out that Laura has done beautifully is she's got good, rich, warm greens in the front, and they get cooler and less warm as they go back. She's done a really great job on that. You get an A++ on that, Laura. Good job. So see how nice and cool those greens are back there? She's got really beautiful blues in the mountains back there. That's good. This here and this here feel very similar. If I were to cut that out and put them side by side, they'd be close. So I think this needs to get a little bit bluer as it goes back. Now, the other thing is there's some stuff here that I can't really tell what we're trying to do here, but here's what's happening. My eye is going like this. Then I'm going to make this left turn. Then I'm going to go all the way down here to this. And then I'm going to go all the way over here to this. And there's, looks like maybe a lake there. But what's happening is we've got a lot of blending craziness here. So if the lake is here, let's make that lake stand out by, let's say we're making it lighter. Okay, and maybe even lighter still. Now I'm not doing it in the whole area. Maybe push it right in here. And what that does is that gives me some eye candy, right? That eye candy is you've taken me down here. Now I want something, I want a reward for going all the way down this road. And so punching up your light here will help quite a bit. The other thing here is that I think this is supposed to be your focal point. And if it is, then let's look for a way to pump up the contrast here. So you got a house here, and it's kind of hard to tell exactly what the shape is. Well, we'll just go in here and undo this and see if we can figure it out. Okay, so it's a red barn. So we have a roof. And so we're going to put this roof in fairly bright. We might change it later. We have a silo. We're going to put that silo in. We have another roof here. And then we're going to pump up the color just a little bit. Maybe not bright red because it's in the distance, but maybe we're going to pump up the color in here and in here, and then maybe look for a in shadow color to put in there to get, you know, that sense of red. I think if you could get your contrast a little better on this, it would really help it. So let's look at this now. Look at how that painting changes. Now all of a sudden you can see that barn, it's just popping. And so just soften up these edges along this road. I'm just going to soften this up just a little bit so that it's not, you know, not so hard everywhere. Your primary purpose is to take me into here. So you've got some nice light in here. Let's just take that light and just get it really, really bright around here. And you know, you're taking me right in there. And then, you know, maybe a little spot of light to pick up down here just to kind of remind me that I'm going on further down. And then you've got this spot of light down there. And then you've got this really lovely sunset. So I think overall, you've done a great job. I would probably look for a way to enhance your shadows on the left side just a little bit more. I'm going to put those in kind of a blue for now. I can't tell which way the sun is over here. So I'm just thinking, let's put a little bit of shadow in here to break up this big space, because that big space is just calling for to be broken up, and it's just leading the eye out. And maybe this is just putting some big trees or something in here, but your focal point in here, I would even go so far as to say, let's take this green and let's just pump it up, and we're going to pump up that green right around the house. right around the house there. And maybe you get rid of that. We'll just kind of put some rows of corn or something in there. And, just a little bit of light right around the house, not everywhere. And that will really enhance this quite a bit. Okay, do we have any more? Oh, we do have another house. I like painting houses. All right. So this is from Nancy Patrick in Springfield, Virginia. Do you know there's more Springfields in America than in any other city? We have a lot of Springfields. Okay. Okay, now what do we have here? We have a really beautiful composition. I think, it's going to work really nicely. So we'll go dead center, we'll go dead center. We got nothing on the horizon here, nothing happening here. So that's really good. And if we take this and we do equal thirds, roughly equal thirds, we're going to find that Nancy here has been paying attention. She's been paying attention and she's got this house here, and the house is lovely. Now, I can't really tell the house and the size of the house, but one of the things I like to do is when I'm painting a house, I like to ask myself, how tall is the house and how many house lengths are the trees? And usually they're about 3 house lengths. So this tree is 4, 5, 6 house lengths, and it feels like maybe it's pretty tall. Now, I think it works okay, but I just want you to be paying attention when you're out there, what is it that you're really seeing? And that may be exactly what you're seeing. Now, she's done a really great job. She's got her good, strong dark here. She's got it right against that light of the house. She's got really nice shadow work on here. And so overall, I think her darks are really good. Now, I would like to see a good, strong dark up here. We have a very strong dark here, and we have a lot of darks all around here. But this is where your darks primarily should be. And then maybe what we do is try to figure out how to lead the eye in, right? That would be kind of a nice thing to do here. And maybe there's a way to do that. Just put a little road or something. You make up whatever you want. The other thing I would do, Nancy, is keep certain things soft. You've kept these trees soft. These are a little hard, and these are a little bit hard, but where you want your harder edges are going to be right around your focal point here, maybe here, but not everywhere. So soften those things up just a little bit. And you can do that by, just go in there with your brush and just kind of blend them back a little bit, because, your brain is going to say, okay, it's a tree. You don't have to show every little leaf. That's a disease that I oftentimes get myself into, is I want to show every little leaf. And you really don't need to do that. The edges are good places to do that. But if you soften this up a little bit, and then I would probably take this dark and maybe lighten this over here a little bit. And, just kind of keep this. This feels a little too dark to me. It feels like it needs some shadow. Let's look at the color version. Let's see what's going on there. Where is it? I can't find it. There it is. Okay. So real simply, let's just take a little bit of dark, and then just kind of create a little sense of something's going on here. Maybe take some of this other color and just kind of put a little indication of something going on there, and that kind of draws the eye in. I think that what I typically experience, I think it's a lovely painting. This color here is really pretty. Let's just see that nice. That's nice. That's really good. I would say that the only thing I would do with this is let's draw the eye to the house a little bit more. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this wheat. We're going to just darken it up a little bit. Okay. It can be a little bit darker in some places, right? Because it could be a shadow in there. And so we're going to darken it up over there. We're going to darken it up over here too, because this bright spot is drawing my eye. And then what I'm going to do is put a bright spot right out here in front of the house, right? Look, it doesn't have to be a lot of bright spot, but just look for ways that you can get your focal point enhanced, draw the eye in there. Now, I think white houses are a little hard to do. in the beginning. And I would say you've done a pretty good job on the shadow side of your White House. There's a color that Deborah Hughes makes, which is called marine blue, makes the greatest shadows. It's about the color that you have, maybe a little bit bluer. And so get a nice, you define your shadows in there. And you've done a pretty good job of that. I get a little bit of shadow under the eaves of this house somewhere. And then I would probably add a little bit of yellow into that white, because pure white is a cool color. And you don't want it to look like a yellow house, but, and you can put some variation of color in this. You don't have to put it the same thing everywhere. And then, maybe even you've done a pretty good job on that brick, but maybe even a touch more light on that brick just to make that stand out just a little bit more. And I think, it's lovely. Otherwise, I put a little red door in there because I thought that would give it some harmony, but it doesn't have to be that. And of course, it's what you see. So overall, I think you did a really great job on it. Let's get some of these darks in the front up here, and maybe just a little bit more dark in here. You've got an opportunity. And then soften up. You don't need every little brush stroke back here. And so soften this up as it recedes, and that will help you. I think otherwise it's really lovely and nice composition. Good job. Okay, now speaking of composition, I think it's time. It is. Okay, so we've done a lot of this today, actually, and that's a zigzag. And this is a classic composition. And so just imagine that we've had our barn, right? And it's in the distance. A zigzag is just basically this, right? So maybe it's like this and like this, and there's your zigzag. Now, this is also called an S curve, right? So the idea is it's just you're doing that. And so you can do that kind of a thing on all kinds of paintings, all kinds of different approaches. It doesn't necessarily have to be just a road. It could be done with a waterfall. It could be done with water. It can be done with anything. So just make sure that you're looking for an opportunity to lead the eye in. And if you're leading the eye in, then make sure that you're putting something of importance here. The Emerald City, this is the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Okay. All right. That's the S curve. Give it a try. Try it out and see if it works for you. Okay. So we're at that point now where we just have to say goodbye. We do have something else I wanted to talk about, though. Oh, I know what it was. It was Acrylic Live. It's coming up in March. Last year, we had record numbers of people attend it, even people who don't paint in acrylics, because they wanted to learn about painting in acrylics, because sometimes you just need to paint in something else. There's this feeling from some painters that acrylic is not a valid medium, and acrylic is the #1 selling painting medium in the world. And so more people paint in acrylic. Why not learn how to do it and do it well from some of the world's leading masters? So check it out. Go to the website, acryliclive.com. Check it out. See if it's right for you. It's a 4-day event. You don't have to attend all 4 days. You can attend the Essentials Day only, or you can attend the last 3 days only, or all 4 days, whatever you want to do. That's acryliclive.com. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you. I hope you have a great Friday. Hope you have a great weekend. Maybe where you are, the weather will get better and you can get out and do a little painting. I think that's what I'm going to do this weekend. Thanks for being here. Remember, anybody can learn to be an artist. Do not tell yourself you can't. You can. You can do this. I can do this. So just watch any 5 of our programs. You'll learn how to paint. You'll learn the basics. It'll give you the confidence to keep going. We have taught 22 million people. Hard to believe. I set a goal of 1 million. I think we exceeded it. So we would love for you to learn to paint, because painting changes your life. You see the light differently. You see the world through the eyes of an artist. And if your brain is saying, I don't have the talent, I didn't get that gene, it's like, that's nonsense. Anybody can learn this, really. You can too. Thanks for being here. Again, subscribe to the program. Go over to YouTube, look up Art School Live, and hit that subscribe button. I'm Eric Rhoads, and we will see you tomorrow. No, Monday.